Hello, P3. I hope that you are enjoying this time with family and you are doing really fun activities at home. I wanted to do this presentation because I feel that we haven't talked in a while, and I really hope that you all enjoy this. I haven't really done this before for math, so I'm really excited about it. We are going to be learning about telling time. So, first, let's talk a little bit about why it's important that we know how to tell time and what does it even mean. So, I'm going to present. So, what does that mean? Telling time helps you know what hour, minute, if it is morning, afternoon, or evening. So, depending on what time it is, you'll be able to tell if it is the morning or the afternoon or the late evening. So, evening is more when the sun is setting, it is getting darker. The afternoon, the sun is up, and a lot of the times in the afternoon, we are out at lunch and it's super sunny and it's really nice. And then the morning is when we are coming in um, from home. Our parents are dropping us off to school, and it's a little sunny, but it's not too sunny. It's kind of cold. Some of us sometimes have a little sweater on, so it's a little chilly. But it's the sun is rising, and sometimes it's already, pretty high, but not as high as it is during the afternoon. So I know a lot of you probably can tell what time it is when you get up in the morning and you see the sun out. And then you can probably tell what time it is probably late at night if you see that the sun is going down, or you see that it's getting kind of dark outside, or it's completely dark, so you know that it's late. So let's find out a little bit more about what does it mean to tell time. So this is an analog clock. It has the numbers 1 through 12. Well, digital and analog clocks have numbers, but this one's a little different because it has a little hand and a big hand. So you might see this clock at school. We have one of these by Mrs. Mondot's table. She has it right above her table if you haven't noticed. You might have one of these at home. Maybe you have a big one in the kitchen, or you might have one in your living room. I know I have one in my living room. So this is a clock that you might recognize, or maybe you only recognize it from being at school because maybe you don't have an analog clock at home. This is a digital clock, and this is actually an alarm clock. I used to use one of these when I was in high school because I didn't set alarms on my cell phone. I had a little flip phone. The iPhone didn't come out until my senior year of high school, and then when it did come out, it was super expensive. So I didn't set my alarms on my phone. It was mostly done through my alarm clock, and maybe a lot of mommies and daddies, they have their alarms to get up in the morning on their phones. I know I don't have an alarm clock anymore. It's something that I had in high school. But maybe ask your parents, see if they have an alarm clock, or maybe they have an alarm clock in the garage that they haven't used, and they can show you how maybe they used to use it, or maybe they still use it now. I know my husband, he used to use it a while ago because it was hard for him to get up, and he used to sleep through his phone alarm, so then he had to get an actual alarm clock. So talk to your family about if they have an alarm clock, and this one happens to be a digital alarm clock. This is an analog watch, so but it's on someone's wrist, which makes it a watch, but it looks it's exactly as an analog clock. This one's a digital watch, so you see the numbers, you don't see the clock so much, but you can still tell time. So what's the difference? What's the difference between an analog clock and a digital clock? Can a digital clock be a little faster than an analog clock? No. So an analog clock, the time is represented by hands that spin around a dial and point to a location on the dial that represents approximate time. So just it points either to the hour, which is the little hand, and then the minute, which is the big hand. So with an analog clock, you can see that there's still numbers. There's numbers on an analog and a digital clock, but the only difference is the analog clock, you can see how the hands are moving to either the minute or the hour. And you can also see with the seconds, sometimes there's a hand that can tell you the seconds, but we don't really have to worry about that right now. Just analog clock, you can see when it turns to a different hour, and then you can see it moving. On a digital clock, which is a numeric display, a number display, it indicates the exact time. So you don't see a little hand or a big hand. You see what time it exactly is. So this is another form of an analog clock. So the little hand is pointing to the 3, which is the hour. And then the little hand is pointing to the 12, which is the minute. And then there's this red hand, and that one tells you the seconds. So I'm more concerned with you guys knowing the hour, which is the little hand, and then the big hand telling you the minute. So where are other places you might see an analog or a digital clock? Do you look around your house? Is there an analog clock in your kitchen? Which means that you can see a big hand and a little hand and the numbers 1 through 12. Is there digital clocks? Do you have a lot of digital clocks at home? Maybe you have some in the kitchen. How many digital clocks can you find in your kitchen? And make sure if you're going to your kitchen, make sure you have your parents go with you. I don't want you randomly going into the kitchen and touching stuff. Just ask your parents if they will go with you into the kitchen. Maybe going to your own bedroom. Is there a digital clock in your room? Is there? I know I have a analog clock. It's a little 49er clock that my husband used to have as a kid, and we put it above Dominic's closet. So maybe you have a clock that you haven't even noticed before, and it's in your room. So look around and then maybe check in your parents' room. And of course, ask for your parents' permission if you may look in their room and look around to see if you can find a digital or an analog clock. So look around and see in your house if you see maybe more analog clocks or more digital clocks. So look around, make sure you ask for permission. I don't want your parents later saying that you were in the garage or something or somewhere you weren't supposed to be. So just ask for permission before you start looking for these different kinds of clocks. So on an analog clock, there are big numbers, which are 1 through 12, and you can also see a big hand, a little hand, and then sometimes a hand that tells you the seconds. So the little hand tells us the minute it's on, and the big hand tells us the hour. So if we go back, I will go through it again. So remember the little hand right here, it's pointing to the 3, and then the big hand is pointing to the 12, which is the minute. So hour is the little hand, minutes are the big hand. So what do these mean? So in 60 seconds, there's 1 minute. So this red hand does the seconds. So seconds are really fast. It's like 1 alligator, 2 alligator, 3 alligator, 4 alligator. It's kind of like when I tell you when we're playing around the world and I say, oh, what's 6 plus 2? Oh, I'm only giving you 2 seconds. You need to answer it now or we are moving on. So it's really, really fast. So remember, seconds are really fast and there's 60 seconds in 1 minute. There are also 60 minutes in 1 hour. So for 1 hour to be complete, there are 60 minutes, which meaning each minute there are 60 seconds. It's okay if you're like, oh, this is a lot. It's okay because we're going to keep going through this. All right. So there are 60 seconds in 1 minute. So each time the big hand moves, like to a minute, there has to pass 60 seconds. Then there are 60 minutes in 1 hour. So when the little hand moves to the next hour, it had to have passed 60 minutes. So if we look back at the clock, you will see that there is 12, numbers, so 1 through 12. And then each time this hand moves, um, there was 60 minutes, and then it moved. Remember, there are 60 seconds in 1 minute, and then there are 60 minutes in 1 hour. So you don't need to remember that right away. I just want you to remember that the little hand points to the hour, so telling you what hour is, and then the big hand tells you the minute. Now I will send you another video where it will show you how to tell the hour, um, so that you can understand it a little bit more. I'm not expecting you to tell time right away because it is something hard to do. All right, so that is the end of my presentation. I hope that you all enjoyed it, and please look around your house and see how many different clocks there are. Maybe you don't have an analog clock. Maybe you have more digital clocks than analog clocks. Maybe your parents have digital watches, or maybe they have analog watches. I don't know. Look around, or maybe you have a watch and you didn't really know that it was analog or digital. Maybe if you have an analog clock, ask your parents about it. So talk more about time with your parents and look around your house to see if you can find different kinds of clocks around your home. I hope that you guys have a wonderful week, and I hope to speak to you soon. Bye, P3.